And so I was at a boomerang tournament, and I asked around because some of the teams were from there. And so I said, do you guys know of any jobs? And this one long-haired guy kind of gruffly said, we need a grinder grunt. I'm like, I could be a grinder grunt. Before I knew it, I was a grinder grunt. I was sharpening, putting edges on swords, daggers, and battle axes. And within a month, I was into quality control. And within a year and a half, I was foreman of the weapons room. So I guess I had a feel for the steel. And we call it forging. So something that is forged, so you're taking the raw material, sticking it in the fire, taking it out and hammering it to shape. Technology can't do everything. There are a lot of things that blacksmithing can do that it would take $1 million machine and $2 million worth of R&D to create some of the things that blacksmiths can just go pull it out of the fire and go ba 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 boom. Blacksmiths don't wear gloves, and you might wonder, why is it that blacksmiths don't wear gloves? Bad things happen when you get used to wearing gloves and then don't have one on. You get the idea that you can handle 500-degree metal, which you really can't. When you burn yourself, that's about the worst day in blacksmithing. This is made to industrial standards, so it is a very clean burning carbon. The best part of blacksmithing is what it does in your mind when you start with an idea and end up with this thing that you envision. It's very visual, very kinesthetic. I like ergonomics. I like really focusing on posture, focusing on how the hammer is held in the hand. It is a beautiful fusion of the mind and the body. I have a torn rotator cuff. I'm almost completely gone on one of the tendons of the 4 tendons of the rotator cuff. Things will happen like I'll have my arm out on the steering wheel and my arm will drop out of its socket. And that doesn't feel good. So when I forge, it holds that all together. It tightens it up and it allows me to continue functioning. I was just swinging an 8-pound sledge earlier today. And no issues. So what I'm going to do is drive these together to actually eliminate the hacksaw marks. The hacksaw marks will almost completely disappear when I strike them together. Blacksmithing is a much more intellectual pastime than most people give it credit for. And most people think that you have to be this large brute. And what happens is it's usually the other way around. If you blacksmith for 25 or 30 years, you might end up as a large brute, but you'll still have your brain. I made a little hook, and then I had it here for future usage. I am so sad that I cannot find it now. There are well over 100,000 self-proclaimed blacksmiths in the United States. A lot of those folks might do one thing in their backyard in an entire month, not the production blacksmithing that we do here. Most blacksmiths like to just sort of mess with stuff and make these things, and then they get the joy of sharing stuff with people, which I also get, but I also get to do that with education. What's really fascinating to me is how differently everybody processes information. And so when you're in the process of teaching people how to do this, you have to work student by student. I really enjoy seeing the light bulbs come on. What you find out is that once you know these things, they shine a light on all these things that you don't know. And so you can just keep building and growing, and there aren't enough years in a life to really adequately deal with the craft. Yeah, that's the whole point of this place, is so that people have time to practice. Once you get a membership, you've been through all your classes, then you can just show up. I would say that the future of blacksmithing is really pretty bright, especially when you haul it out of the fire. The future of blacksmithing is entering an upswing because of the internet. A lot of people start online, but almost everybody ends up coming to a school such as ours to get the real hands-on experience. I've had people tell me, "You're teaching people too much. You're teaching your own competition." And what's hilarious about that is I'm not training my competition, I'm training my replacements. For the survival of the craft and the improvement of the craft, we need to bring it out and spread it far and wide so that things aren't completely lost.